Welcome, everybody, to episode 1 of a new show I'll be doing called A Curious Mind. And I am going into my DNA and family tree on this one. I'll be interviewing my cousin, Daniel Bernstein, who has so kindly and so generously tried to push me to understand blockchains and NFTs. And I give him all the credit in the world, and only because he still calls me and texts me about this. I guess it's because he's family. Otherwise, he would have given up on me a long time ago. So I'm going to have him introduce himself. And I'm hoping through this video today that he helps me understand greater what he's been doing for me in the background, as well as the business that he pursues on a daily basis. So without further ado, Daniel, all yours.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Dan, also known as Doc on social media. About me, I studied computer science a long time ago. That's sort of been my interest for a long time. It's what I got my degree in. After leaving school, I've had sort of a variety of experiences all related to tech and money. Right after grad school, I became a professional poker player for a few years. That was a lot of fun, just hanging around the casino, gambling, making a living. It was pretty crazy time. Eventually got interested in personal finance and the tax code in particular. I saw a lot of opportunities for strategizing there and helping people out. So basically read the tax code, started a business doing taxes for individuals, which I still run to this day. And eventually found my way to cryptocurrency and NFTs, digital collectibles. And that is my current passion, obsession, sort of a perfect combo of technology, finance. It's just amazing, like really cool cutting edge stuff. And yeah, happy to be here and to sort of dig into all this.
How do we share the same family tree? And math is my worst subject ever. How did you get all of that? And I mean, I hate to admit this, and I will admit it. I took algebra 1 3 times. So once they started throwing letters and numbers in parentheses together, I was done. So I marvel at your knowledge with this, because it's so opposite of how I use my day-to-day knowledge.
Yep. I don't know. Some of us are total nerds, and some are not. And that comes.
I guess I'm the book nerd and you're the math nerd, and that's how it got divided up.
Right.
So I guess what I would want you to explain right off the bat is I started hearing NFT and blockchain several years ago. Where did this all spurn from? How did it sort of crack through the ether of the internet and become something that was of value and worth?
Yeah. So we got to go back, I guess, a couple decades now, to well, I mean, let's go back to the emergence of the internet, right? Back in the 90s, you've got the internet, and obviously it opened up all these opportunities. People from around the world were able to share information with each other. And it was an explosion, a big tech breakthrough, obviously. But there was one thing sort of missing, and that was, people could share information, but sharing value is a little trickier. So having like a money of the internet, it's kind of hard to design. So people started thinking about this a few decades ago. Like, how could you make like a kind of internet money? Like, of course, I could design a coin that I could run a website where I have like a coin and it's got a supply of, say, 1 million. And you could come to my website and you could check your balance and you could send the coin to someone else by clicking a button on my website. And I could sort of make a kind of money, right? But of course, the problem with that is, like, it's my website. So I can mess around with the balances if I want. Even if I'm not malicious, the website could go down and then your money disappears, right? So there was this problem, like people wanted a kind of like internet money, but all the solutions had a single point of failure, and that's really unsatisfying. You don't want to trust somebody's website or some server somewhere. Okay. So then in 2008, along comes Satoshi Nakamoto, okay, an anonymous developer who comes out of nowhere and writes a paper on this thing that he calls Bitcoin. Okay, and Bitcoin is, I mean, it's a coin with a supply of total supply of 21 million, but it's more than that. It's a protocol for maintaining a ledger of ownership in a decentralized way. Okay, so not just having one website where you keep track of who owns what, but you've got this peer-to-peer network of thousands of computers spread around the world, all sort of incentivized to stay in agreement and to process transactions and all that kind of thing. And it uses cryptography and all kinds of clever ideas, which I will not get into, but we'll just take it on faith that this thing works, and it's been working for 15 or so years. So that was a big breakthrough. This was an invention of a kind of internet money that that can't be interfered with. Okay, like there's no single website that can go down. It's a peer-to-peer protocol. As long as you have your cryptographic private key, you've got your money and nobody can take it from you. And furthermore, you can transact with anyone around the world as long as you have an internet connection. So huge breakthrough. Now,
was this a mistake that happened, or was this a prayer and intentionality? I mean, what happened? What he came from out of nowhere? What was he before? And then he creates this, and it changed the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was very intentional. I mean, for years before that, people had been inventing other kinds of internet money, but they didn't quite get there. It was like there was still that single point of failure, that central authority you had to trust. And then Satoshi just nailed it. Like there's this whole proof of work consensus mechanism that it's fascinating. I encourage people to go check out the original paper. It really it solved, more or less solved a big problem in computer networking, like getting everyone to agree and not allowing for like double spending. So you can't like take $1 and spend it here and spend the same dollar somewhere else. It really just kept everything consistent.
And
So yeah, very.
Is that what you mean by coin? Or is that different?
Yeah. I mean, it's Bitcoin. It's like I
Okay.
said, 21 million coins, and it's a record of who owns what, and that record, nobody can mess with that. Now, of course, when people hear this, especially people who are used to people with no experience with blockchain, they might be very skeptical and say, like, this is nothing. It's backed by nothing. There's no physical thing I can hold. It's just imaginary.
And that was my first issue with when you talked about this with me. You were trying to explain to me this is just like art, Max. I know you sell art. I know you know art. Think about this as art. I remember you talking to me about that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so Bitcoin is not something you can hold, but it has these cool properties. And at one point during the early days, someone said like, hey, I'll pay $1 or I'll pay, I don't know, a penny for a Bitcoin because it's just cool to own and there's a limited supply. So somebody paid a penny for it. And then someone else was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll pay a nickel for it. One thing led to another. And it sort of bootstrapped its way into being a real money. And now one Bitcoin's something like $70,000. And so I think there will always be people who like reject it and say it's backed by nothing, it's imaginary. But the world has kind of agreed at this point that this is a new kind of money, and it is real, and it has certain properties, like it has properties that no other money has, right? Like if you want to, there's no other kind of money that no one can take from you and you can transact with 24/7. You want to pay someone via PayPal. If PayPal decides not to process your transaction, well, you're out of luck. So yeah, something pretty cool about it.
And only 21 million coins exist?
Yeah, it's built into the protocol, so all of the computers participating in that sort of agree to produce coins at a certain rate, and it caps out at 21 million. And if you try to deviate from that, you get punished. So you lose a lot of money if you deviate.
Okay,
So everyone's sort of locked in to
right.
this.
So
No,
there,
can't
yeah,
guarantee that
there's a
it'll.
governing board behind the scene, behind the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, there's no authority, but there are rules, and
Within
if,
the program.
yeah, you get
Okay,
punished.
yeah.
Will it necessarily work forever? No, there could be flaws with it, but it's been going strong for 15 years, so that's pretty cool.
And what do you, I mean, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years, a decade with Bitcoin? Is it going to gain more traction? Because I feel like it gained a lot of traction, and maybe in my world, I'm not in it, but maybe in my world, it feels like it's getting detraction now.
Um, I don't know. I'm not good at these kind of predictions. I mean, the Bitcoin ETFs were approved earlier this year, which
Okay.
is sort of a stamp of approval from the government, I guess. Uh, so, but still, who knows? Will it could stay the way it is. It could sort of it could get much bigger and really take over. People could really see the benefits of holding some money in cryptocurrency, because it does have certain desirable properties. But yeah, I'm not one to really speculate on that. I just like these things for what they are, and the price and the future, what happens in the future, that's not really
Okay.
kind of a whatever for me.
So to you, it's what it is, what books are to me. We just like that world.
Exactly. You discover something you like that you find fundamentally interesting, and then you go with it.
So are you able to explain to me again and to the audience? You recently sent me a text with a coin you purchased, right? Or several coins. I forget what that text said. Can you explain that to everybody so they can get an understanding of how good of a family member you are to me?
Sure, sure. I think so we need to continue the story in terms
Okay.
of the development of cryptocurrency. Okay, so gotta make sure we sort of
Yeah.
lay the foundation here. So you got Bitcoin, which was first mined in 2009, I guess. Okay. And like I said, Bitcoin is it's a ledger of who owns what, who has how many coins. All right. Um, and so people made, in the following years, people made clones of Bitcoin and they experimented with it. But then there was this other huge breakthrough in 2015. This guy, Vitalik Buterin, he and others invented Ethereum. Okay. So the idea with Ethereum is, instead of keeping track of like a ledger of who owns what, let's keep track of the state of an entire computer, like sort of in the cloud. Let's let people now program this thing and do deals with each other and make loans and make games and everything, and have that be and sort of have that be implemented by this unstoppable peer-to-peer protocol. So Vitalik decided to take it to another level and build a computer in the clouds. And that's a very big leap forward. It's way more sophisticated than just keeping track of like who owns however many coins. And so I love Ethereum. I'm a big fan of it. And I think, yeah, the invention of Ethereum in mid 2015 was a really big deal. So yeah, it opened the door for smart contract programming. Okay, so I mean, smart contracts are really just programs that you put on the blockchain, that are kind of censorship resistant and permissionless, and anybody can run the program and nobody can stop it. So it just opened the door, like I said, for people to build games and do decentralized finance, and also to make art and collectibles that live forever on the blockchain. And that's my main interest right now. That I think is still very under the radar, and I think is going to be a really big deal, because I sort of already explained this with money, like, but it's the same thing with collectibles and art. If you wanted to um, make digital art or a collectible and sell it to people in the past, yeah, you could put it up on a website and you could say, hey, you're the owner of this picture. And then, but the problem is that like it's on a website. The website could go down, you could mess around with the ownership letter and so on. But when you build an art or a collectible on Ethereum, um, it's immutable. So like you have a piece of art and then somebody's address is in the, recorded, they're recorded as the owner, like their wallet is, that's the owner, and nobody can mess with that. Of course, anybody can take the data and copy it. Like if I put a picture on the blockchain, of course you can download the picture and it can be copied a million times, but the record of ownership, that's the part that's immutable. And again, there's going to be people that don't buy into that, think that's a bunch of BS, but a lot of the world is sort of recognizing it.
It's the who owns it, which is in my world the provenance of the artwork.
Yeah, exactly.
If I go to a Sotheby's auction and I buy a painting, I now have provenance of that painting that I bought it at Sotheby's.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And so I feel like it's really cool because there's it kind of gives you now we have, for the first time ever in the history of the world, we can do collecting of digital objects,
I
and
love
like a
this.
real
Yes.
kind of collecting,
Mhm.
where you can be, as long as cryptography continues to work, you can be sure that you're the owner of something and you can transact with it whenever you want. So I think that's really, really cool. But what a lot of people would say, if I were to, yeah, I think one potential criticism people would say, but anybody can put any art on the blockchain. You could just put like unlimited
Right.
pictures or videos or whatever. And so how can these things be worth anything if anyone can put something on the blockchain? Like, how is their value?
Right.
And I completely hear what they're saying, and I agree that 99.99% of things that go on the blockchain are worthless and are going to go to absolute zero. Absolutely. In the same way that like 99% of websites are just, you don't go there. They're just forgotten. They're sitting there doing nothing. Um, so the challenge with this whole new realm of digital art and collecting is to identify the good ones, the ones with values, same as you would do in the physical world.
The 1%.
Exactly, and much less than 1% even.
So, and how does one begin to do that? How does one begin to say this is bad art, this is sustainable art?
Right. So different people have different ways they approach this. And the way I approach it is uh, very much timestamp based, okay? Because these things, the blockchain, everything that goes on the blockchain is timestamped, and that part can't be changed, okay? Ethereum started in mid 2015, and I should say there's other blockchains. There's Bitcoin, Ethereum, other chains. You can own things sort of on Bitcoin, and you can own things on other blockchains. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to kind of ignore that.
Okay.
I focus on Ethereum. I think that was the real big breakthrough. So let's for now, let's treat Ethereum as kind of the beginning of time, right? The mid 2015. So I always go backwards. I look at the timestamps and I say, what can I find that was a true first, a provable first? Okay. Um, and it's a lot of fun, and it's that thrill of the hunt, like
Right.
in the digital world. Okay. But it has some advantages, because in the physical world, when you hunt for something and you find it, there's still going to be a bit of uncertainty. Like you have a book and it's supposedly the first edition or what, I don't know how these things work, but you never know. Maybe there's some earlier edition that, I don't know, some copies got printed and they're sitting somewhere, or like you're never absolutely sure what you have. And then of course, secondarily, things degrade, right? Like, there's condition and all that. So when I'm doing my hunting in the digital world, I don't have that problem. Like I can be sure Once I've dug through the data and I found something, I know it's all right, 100%, this is the earliest one, and it'll always be, and it'll never degrade and all that.
And how you prove that with a timestamp? Like you find something the same way I dig for a book, you find something, and in all of your research, you can't find anything earlier than that timestamp.
Right, because the blockchain is this database that just keeps growing. And like I said, it's a peer-to-peer network. So this database is replicated thousands of times around the world. And unless somebody breaks cryptography, that data cannot ever change, right?
Okay.
So I take the database, I run queries against it, I look for things, I go back to the very beginning. Sometimes just walk through the computer programs one by one and look for the first of something. Yeah, that's maybe I should actually show you this picture. I can share my screen here. So this is what it looks like in terms of sort of the number of like collectible or art projects that were produced on Ethereum over time.
Okay.
And you can see that the period from 2015 to 2017, that was like an experimental early period where very few projects were created. People were just kind of messing around. And then in 2018, things became standardized. Like there was sort of like standard names for things. Like if you want to transfer an item, you call the function transfer, and then you call the balance checking balance or whatever. And so once the standards came into the picture, then people started creating a lot more projects. Like in 2018, got 1,000 plus projects, and then it just blew up in 2021. It got to the point where there were just millions of kind of ownable things being put on the blockchain.
Can you explain? I mean, as I look at the chart, 2017 to 2018, what caused that explosion?
Well, I guess crypto in general was kind of in a lull from 2015 to 17. Like I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, like the prices were low, people weren't too interested. And then in 2017, I think end of 2017 is where prices started going up and there was more attention to crypto in general. And so people came in and they started making things and creating art and collectibles and so forth. So yeah, I mean, when you see this this chart, you could see why I like to focus on 2015 through 17. It's not like so long ago, but it's more a matter of like there's so few things that were made there. There's
the early years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this is you were talking about an interview, I guess labeled versus unlabeled books.
Right.
And this is perfectly analogous. Pre-standard is where people were just messing around getting things to work, and then things became standardized and easier to deal with. And I like going back to the stuff that was like it's messier, more experimental, harder to deal with, but like original, provably original. So yeah.
And in the collecting worlds, whether you're collecting books or concert t-shirts or glass, whatever you're collecting, there are holy grails. Is there holy grails in this market?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I feel like I should give an example here because maybe people like it'll help illustrate. So let me just go to the next slide here. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so
I recognize that. I recognize it.
All right, so let me tell the story of II coin so people get a sense of what's going on here. And this is a cool story, and this is the coin that I gave you some of this recently. Okay, so like I said, Ethereum was launched mid 2015, like beginning of August. Okay, so if you look on the blockchain, you can see like in the first couple weeks, people were like experimenting. They were doing little projects, like they were making coins, like basic coins that you can send and you can check the balance, but the coins didn't have a name or any distinguishing features. They were just kind of like test coins, right? So, but people were starting to make things, very early days. So then, uh, so if you go, you just step through all the programs, you get to about the 350th, you'll find II coin, okay? And this is this is actually, it's crazy that this is from 2015, so it's 9 years old. But nobody discovered this until a couple weeks ago. So I was the first to even find this thing. I don't know, because it's just kind of like the way things are back then, it's kind of like hard to dig through the data and everything's kind of obscure and it's complicated. But so I found this a couple weeks ago, and what it is it's the first kind of interesting coin, the first coin that was intended to be collected. Because if you look at it, there's the standard like send function and check balance function, and it's got this supply of 6 million. But interestingly, there's also a faucet. So it was open to the public. So you could claim a coin one at a time. And every time you claim a coin, you can see on the blockchain, a message would be spit out and it would say, II coin love, 1 coin for you. So it's this themed coin. And the theme is this II animal, which is like a weird kind of lemur with these weird fingers. It's a really interesting animal. So this was the very first time that somebody designed like a true like digital collectible on Ethereum. And you can prove it because you can walk through all the smart contracts from before and you won't find anything too interesting. But then this thing has a name, a faucet, and all that. So yeah, so there are 6 million of these, and you can claim them one at a time, and they're free, except the way Ethereum works is every transaction requires a payment of a fee. Okay, so, and it's called a gas fee. Okay. And that's just to sort of pay the machines that are sort of running the network and making everything work. They get some of this fee. Okay. And so the fee varies with time. And so yeah, whoever made this made it so that yeah, as long as you're willing to pay the fee, you can have a coin. So yeah, when I discovered this, I grabbed a whole bunch of them. I even wrote some code where I can grab them in batches. So I spent a day grabbing this coin because I figured, hey, first collectible on Ethereum, this has got to be, this is special, you know, provenance and all that. Like it's definitely something real. So I grabbed a whole bunch of them over the course of a day, and then I put the word out on social media. I was like, oh, hey, I discovered this thing. Nobody found it. And not only is it an old collectible, but it has a faucet. You can go grab these things for yourself. And people got really excited. And yeah, the faucet was emptied within a few days. I think in total, people had paid about $400,000 of network fees to grab these things.
So there was 6 million and now they're done.
Faucet's empty, and now you know, people grabbed them. They got them for like 5 cents each at the lowest, maybe 10 cents, 15, depending on what the fees were at the time. And I think they're currently trading at 50 cents. You know, so yeah, so far so good. You know, this is an example of one of the very few good ones, because fundamentals, you've got the early timestamp, the sort of originality, you know, all those things you want to see in a collectible.
Do we know who originally created this? Does the provenance work that way?
Well, yeah, so that's interesting. So there's in the world of blockchain, it's very important to distinguish like 2 kinds of truth, right? There's the truth that's like on the blockchain, like this was, you know, the timestamp, the actual data that you see, that can never be changed, that we know. And then there's like the stuff that you can kind of, you can look at a website and maybe guess who made something, or you can or word of mouth, or you can hear stories, and that's a different kind of truth. It's not as solid, right? It's not like based on cryptography. Okay. So by looking at like websites, for this coin in particular, there's an anonymous developer named Lineage who probably created the coin based on some posts on Reddit and things like that. But again, that part's not on the blockchain, so you should always be extra skeptical of stuff that's not on chain.
Gotcha. So where do we go from 6 million coins all sold? Faucet was open. People had an opportunity at 5 cents. Now they're selling for 50 cents. How does it gain more traction? How does it sell? How does it become next level financial windfall for people?
Yeah, so this gets into sort of there's two camps in the crypto world. There's sort of the fundamentals people, and that's a very tiny set of people who just they are interested in collecting things that have good fundamentals, and they're looking to hold on for 10 to 20 years and just let things play out. And people will keep going back to the early blockchain data, and they'll keep discovering this coin over and over again. And the idea is you just have faith that the value will increase because it's got the right properties, right? And I'm kind of in that camp. Like I'm not into the marketing and pumping in the short term. But the funny thing is that the vast majority of people in crypto are not that. They want money tomorrow. They want money like in the next month.
So it's quick trading. Is it day trading?
Yeah, it's 24/7. People trade these things, but not only trading, they try to pump them. They go on social media and they let's go raid Twitter. Let's go do this and that. Let's hire influencers to promote this. I'm not into any of that, but that is the vast majority of what you'll encounter in the crypto world is just people doing this crazy like short-term pumping. And you've got these coins, these meme coins, of which II coin is one. I mean, the market caps are insane. There's ones with $100 million market cap. There's ones with $1 billion market cap. And a lot of that depends on like what are the influencers pumping, and a lot of it's kind of scammy and whatever. So I don't know. Like if you want to do short-term gambling, that's all fine. Like I said, I'm not in that camp. I find the good stuff and I sit on it, and I let everyone else do the all the crazy marketing stuff. But I mean, not financial advice, of course, but this coin has a lot of potential. I mean, I'm holding it expecting a massive win.
Yeah. So for you to discover this, in my mind, it makes you sort of a digital archaeologist. You found something created in 2015 that hadn't been shown before, and now it has life of its own.
Yeah, and unlike physical archaeology, this digital archaeology will end at some point. At some point, we'll dig up everything and it'll be over. So this is an interesting transitional period where people like me are still finding things because it's just so new, and there's not enough people like with the ability or the will to like dig around in this data. And so yeah, digital archaeology is currently a thing, and someday it won't be a thing because we'll be done. So yeah, what a cool period to be living in. I'm happy to be at the center of it.
So, I remember about a year or so ago, you had sent me some pictures that to me, and I know we talked about this, that looked like 8-bit Atari images.
Oh, okay.
Was that the NFT?
Um,
Because you were trying to explain that to me as well in the process.
right. So yeah, so what I just showed you was just a coin. Like that picture that I showed isn't even on the blockchain. It's just, oh, this is a coin.
That's the representation of the coin.
Yeah, that's just something that we made up to just to have something visual.
To give it visual. Okay.
But at some point, like in the later, as time went by with Ethereum, people started putting more interesting things onto the blockchain than just coins. And so that's where you get the NFTs. And people were putting actual like images or more complicated objects on the blockchain, and then you could own that. So I can show you, and I'll show you another example. Just moving forward in time here. Let's go to on here.
I'm so glad I made you a co-host for this. There
So
we go. Yeah.
here is, this is a project called Etheria. Okay, you can see the date is October 2015. So this is like a couple months after II coin was deployed. Etheria is way more complicated and interesting. It's this island, and you can own a plot of land, and you can't really see in the picture, but each of these hexagons has a XY position, but it also has like a height, so
Okay.
an elevation.
Hmm.
All right. So you own your land on the blockchain. You can give it a name, and that you can change the name as many times as you want on the blockchain. And then even more interestingly, you can farm your tile to get these building blocks, and then you can build a sculpture on your land. And this is all permissionless. This is all like you do it on the blockchain. Nobody can stop you. They can't take your land. They can't stop you from building. So it's just this very cool virtual world that was made within 2 months of Ethereum launching. And it's got supply. There's 457 plots of land, and there were 4 versions that rolled out. They're sort of each one improved upon the last. So this is getting more to like the more structured data, more than just a coin. And so Etheria is an absolute grail. I mean, to own one of these, I think is very special.
And when you, okay, so when you say own one of these, you mean one plot of land, one XY plot.
Yep, yep. And I can tell you, so in the early days, this is just getting into sort of like how I think about the provenance and everything. So I think all Etheria tiles, I mean, I think it's just such a cool project, and just owning one is very cool. I was able to actually get my hands on one of the ones that had a sculpture built on it in 2015. Okay, so in 2015, in the early days, there were only a handful of sculptures built, but I got like the 3rd sculpture, I think, and I was able to buy that tile with the early sculpture for $10,000, which is free. It's basically free.
Mhm.
And you know, again, of course, you know, the disclaimer, none of this is financial advice. I might be crazy, but I'm not, I'm very unlikely I'd sell it for less than $1 million. Like very, very unlikely. Yeah.
And again, there's only 457 of those XY plots of land on Ethereum.
Yeah, there's 4 versions, so multiply that by 4. But yeah, that's it.
And not that you have to be specific about this or detail oriented, but how did you go about being able to purchase this with the statue already on it?
Um, I contacted the guy that made Etheria, and I was already
There it is.
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's so new. It's such a small world. You know, if you're in the mix and you're willing to put up with the messiness and all the technical barriers, I mean, you can get in on this really cool stuff really early. It's really wild. You know, like I know in the physical collecting world, things are mature. You know, people have been doing it for hundreds of years. We're in like year 3 here.
Right.
And so it's wild, and prices are just nobody agrees on prices. You know, you'll take an NFT, someone will think it's worth $10, and another person thinks it's worth 10,000.
Right.
You
But
know?
that's the beauty of it too. To me, that's the beauty of it anyways. It's really gray. It's not a black and white issue.
Absolutely. It's like anything else. You get in early, you put up with all the barriers and all the crap. That's how you're gonna, you know, get a good deal and make a killing. I mean,
But you never sent me a text on getting me an XY plot of land on this one.
yeah,
Let me look back at my text with you.
these are quite they're hard to get. I mean, you have to put up some serious money at this
I
point.
understand.
Yeah.
So what I know you made a some more slides. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, sure. I'll just take you through 2 more projects. I mean,
Definitely.
So like like I said, coin I'd think of as like the first collectible. Ethereum is like the first collectible set. The items are actually all different. Then in 2017, you've got CryptoPunks, and this one sort of like went a little more mainstream. Like a lot more people heard about CryptoPunks. And this is sort of, I'd say, the first collectible character you can own.
I remember seeing those all through the internet and Instagram at one time. So,
Yeah, yeah. So there's 10,000 of them. There are two different versions, each with 10,000.
okay.
There was kind of a problem with the first version, and so they rolled out an improved version. But you can own there's basically 20,000 ownable CryptoPunks, and they're just these, each one is unique, and there's these cool little pixelated faces. And they're fun because you can use them as your social media avatar. And so people like them. They got super popular. So the version 2, the improved version of CryptoPunks, like they're the top NFT. Like they go for the most money. It's about $100,000 minimum for one of these. I don't really, the people in my circle don't really get it. It's sort of like in the art world, I guess, where just something becomes really popular and you're like, why that? Why exactly that? I
Right.
mean, I think these are cool. I think they are old relics, but I'm not sure why they're 10 or 20 times the price of all the other things from the same era. It's
Right.
a bit odd.
But they each have their own name and story, correct?
Um, each one is just the picture.
Oh,
That's
just a picture. Okay, so it's just solely the image and there's no sort of history about that picture.
no. I mean, there are special ones like this middle one is an alien. Like it's a lot more rare. I don't know. There's 10 or 20, 10 of those, something like that. So those
Okay.
go for a lot more money than the rest.
Okay.
So that's the CryptoPunks. And then the last one I'll show you is Mooncat Rescue from a couple months after the CryptoPunks. And this is, I guess, the first pet on the blockchain. It's a cat. People love cats. So, with Mooncats, there was this cool way of claiming them. Like you had to sort of mine for them. Your computer had to solve a really hard problem to sort of earn a Mooncat. And so they were, it was released in 2017, but they didn't like mint out until 2021.
Okay.
And the ones that were claimed in 2017 are worth more. That's just the way it is, I guess, with all of collecting. If you have an older one, it's typically worth more. And then among those, some of the early ones were given names in 2017. So you can name these things and the name becomes permanent. So you can see with this picture, Mr. Moo and Purple Haze, some of the early named
Yeah.
cats. And those are even more special. And Mooncats, it's just a lot of fun to collect because there's all these different colors and poses and how old are they? Are they named or not? So like if you're a real geek collector, you can really go crazy with Mooncats. So I guess the four that I showed you, those are like in my opinion, the grails. These are like among those early projects where you can be pretty sure, oh yeah, this is the first time someone did something like this. And then, like I said, there's thousands and then millions after that, none of which I'm interested in. Some of the later ones I'm sure have value for whatever reason, but it's just outside of the scope of my expertise.
And if someone, if this conversation spurns on someone's interest in this, where would they go to follow you? Where would they go to be part of the community to get a greater understanding, a greater education in this?
Yeah, so I've posted a lot on Twitter, or which is now X, under Goatish Duck. So certainly I think reading my posts would be helpful. And also the place where people come together to chat about this stuff is on Discord. It's a channel called NFT Relics.
Okay.
And that is it's just a really great place. A lot of smart people hang out there, and it's kind of like no BS. Like, it's just very like people aren't really shilling stuff. It's more like just getting down to the facts.
Will
And
you send me the links of those so I can include that in this interview later on when we do the
yeah,
production?
absolutely.
Yeah, I would love anything I can do to help promote it and get links in there for people who are outsiders and want to maybe get to be insiders with
Yeah.
the community, you know.
And just to add to that, it's important to like, so you want to go to these places to discuss, and it's important to ignore all the other crap,
Mhm.
because if you go look around for NFTs or whatever on the internet, wow, you will be bombarded with
Same in
garbage.
my book world. It's the same thing in my book world. We you know, there's a lot of crap out there we got to ignore to get to the good stuff, and we talk about it on my Patreon channel all the time. So
Yeah.
it's amazing how similar your world is similar to my world, and yet until today I had such a hard time understanding it, and that chart, that visual of 2015, 16, 17, that helped me unlock it a little bit. I definitely have a better grasp that I've ever had before. Even sitting across from you at a wedding and talking about this, I now have a way better grasp of this.
Right. Yeah, and I also want to add that like the logistics of getting into it and setting up a wallet and actually buying one, it
Mhm.
is not going to be easy. It is we're talking about the early stages of a technology. We're talking about like early internet when you're trying to use email or something. I mean, it wasn't easy. You know, you had to
Yeah,
kind of fight through it, but I think the real, true investors or collectors understand that like when you fight through the pain, that's how you get the good deal.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, it's again, you're a digital archaeologist. You're looking for something. You're quite not sure what it is. You have an outline, you have an idea, and now you have to go find timestamps and history and provenance, and then there you go. And it's amazing to me. It's always been amazing to me to talk to you about this, even though I've had such a wall of understanding. But look how patient you've been with me. Um, so I thank you for that. Is there anything that you'd like to leave with the audience? Um, Sort of, not necessarily warnings, but ways to get into it. If someone joins the Discord, the NFT Discord, but other tips, other hacks, other tips of the trade, if you will.
Um, well, if you join the Discord, be aware that like it's like with any other like small, tight-knit community of collector nerds, like people are grumpy and they're curmudgeons and they might like, might be a little harsh. Just fight through that, stick around, don't be discouraged, ask questions.
If anybody out there watches this, you can always say I'm a friend of Max's, and my cousin will help you out.
Right, right. But yeah, what else? Yeah, just know that there are no easy answers. There, like if someone is, like as I've been saying, there's a lot of scammers out there, and if someone makes it look really easy, don't believe them. I mean, you need to learn a little bit of the tech, and you need to learn a little bit about how Ethereum works, and I and other people are happy to sort of help you through that. And yeah, you got to have some patience and you got to approach it with an open mind because this stuff is super weird. And I think a lot of people just right away think the whole thing is a scam. And
Yeah,
you have to open your mind and like
right,
accept that maybe it's not all scam.
right. And it sort of ignore the detractor conversations and say,
Mhm.
okay, technology never stops. This is part of the technology. What is the world going to look like? I know you don't want to predict, but what is the world going to look like? Even currency has evolved through the thousands of years. So why wouldn't currency continue to change? Why do we always have to have paper bills and silver coins? So even currency changes.
Yeah. And if you're, and I'd encourage you to speak to people of the younger generations, talk to kids, right? Because this makes more sense to kids. A kid will be playing Fortnite and pay real money to have their character wear a certain type of outfit, and now they own that outfit for their
Don't
character.
don't, don't go there. You're gonna blow my mind away again on that. Don't go there.
But that's where we're
That's
headed.
but that's the world, right? That's what we're turning into.
Yeah.
I'm an Atari 2600 kid, so it's I have to get over that wall of paying someone to enhance my character. I have to understand.
It's wild, I know.
So I think what I'd like to do, and we'll talk in a couple months again about this. I'd like to have you back and sort of do the next level of what this conversation is, because I know we're going to get a lot of interest on this and a lot of activity. So maybe in a couple months we'll do a part two of this and go up and a little deeper and a little more mysterious and see what it evolves into.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more to talk about. I'd love to come back.
I love that. Thank you for your time. I'm sure I'll see you at the next wedding or the next funeral, and unfortunately, and that's how cousins are cousins nowadays, unfortunately. But thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Bye bye.
All right.